This one here was my maid, disguised as a wife. Liam burst out laughing in the crowded airport, pointing at Aif. He didn't know that in minutes a private jet would land, and the truth would destroy his life forever. Dublin International Airport was completely packed that morning. Hundreds of people moved through the main concourse, carrying bags, hugging family, rushing to catch flights. Aif O'Malley stood in the economy class check-in line, holding her old suitcase with a broken wheel. The simple coat she wore was a bit wrinkled from the bus journey there. She watched the departure boards, checking for the third time if her flight time hadn't changed. She was nervous, not just about the trip, but about everything that destination meant. After years of rebuilding her life piece by piece, she finally had the courage to return, to face ghosts of the past, to prove to herself that she had overcome everything. "I don't believe it, Aif." The voice came from behind, loud enough for several people around to turn and look. Aif felt her stomach churn. She knew that voice. She had heard it every day for years. She took a deep breath before slowly turning around. Liam Gallagher was a few feet away, wearing an impeccable suit and holding a genuine leather briefcase. Beside him, a platinum blonde woman, wearing a tight animal print outfit and carrying a designer handbag. Siobhan Kelly, the new girlfriend, or rather, the woman who had been the main reason for the divorce. "Liam," Aif said simply, trying to keep her voice steady. "What a surprise to find you here," he said, but his tone wasn't genuine surprise. It was thinly veiled mockery. "Managed to save up for a ticket? What progress?" Siobhan laughed loudly, covering her mouth with a handful of gold rings. "Darling, don't be cruel. Maybe she's traveling for work." "For work?" Liam guffawed, stepping closer. "Aif, tell me, have you finally landed a real job?" People in the queue began to stare. Aif felt her face flush, but she held her posture erect. She wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of seeing her cower. "I'm traveling, Liam, just like you." "Ah, but there's a huge difference between our trips, darling," he said, making sure to speak loudly. "We're going first class to a 5-star resort in the Canary Islands for a holiday." "And?" Aif didn't reply. She just gripped her suitcase tighter. "Let me guess," Siobhan interjected, approaching with a venomous smile. "Economy class? Perhaps visiting some relative who can lend you money?" "Siobhan doesn't need to guess," Liam said, snatching Aif's luggage tag before she could stop him. "Look here, domestic flight, not even international." He showed the tag to a few people around, as if it were a hilarious joke. Aif felt tears starting to form, but she blinked hard to hold them back. She wasn't going to cry. "Not here, not in front of him." "Liam, please, give it back," she said, extending her hand. "Please." He mimicked her voice cruelly. "Always so polite, so submissive. You know, Siobhan?" That was the Aif I knew. The woman who never reacted, who accepted everything, who lived in my shadow. "Poor thing," Siobhan said, making an exaggerated pout. "It must be hard to see your ex-husband happy with someone better." The entire queue now watched the scene. Some people seemed uncomfortable, others curious. Some even discreetly pulled out their phones. Aif wanted to disappear, but her feet seemed glued to the floor. "Did you all know?" Liam turned to the people around, raising his voice even higher. "That I supported this woman for years, paid for everything, food, clothes, house, and do you know what she did? Stayed home all day." "I took care of our home," Aif said softly, but firmly. "I took care of you." "Took care?" He laughed scornfully. "You barely knew how to cook properly. Every time I came home from real work, tired, I had to eat bland food, made by someone who never bothered to learn anything useful." An elderly woman in the queue frowned, clearly bothered by the scene. A businessman shook his head in disapproval, but Liam was at the peak of his performance, fueled by the attention. "And want to know the worst part?" he continued, now completely lost in his own cruel narrative. "I tried to help her grow, offered to pay for courses, college, anything. But no, she preferred to stay in that mediocre little life." Aif closed her eyes for a second. Memories came in waves. The times she asked to study and he said it was a waste of time. The times she wanted to work and he forbade her, saying his wife didn't need to work. The times she tried to have a voice and was silenced with shouts and manipulations. "Liam, you know that's not true," she said, her voice starting to tremble. "Not true?" He moved closer, invading her personal space. "Then explain why, when we divorced, you had nothing, no degree, no career, no money of your own. Because you never let me." The words came out louder than Aif intended. Some people in the queue murmured in agreement. Liam turned red. He didn't like being contradicted, especially in public. "Look at that. The victim has appeared." he said venomously. It was always like this, always blaming others for her own incompetence. Siobhan hugged his arm, making sure to rub their relationship in Aife's face. Darling, forget her. Weak people always make up excuses. You're right, my love, Liam said, kissing Siobhan's forehead in an exaggerated way. You know, Aif, you should thank me. Thank you? Aifa asked incredulously. For setting you free. Now you can chase your little dreams of grandeur. You can try to be someone in life, even if it's too late. Too late? A man in the queue said, clearly annoyed. Mate, what kind of person are you? Liam turned to the man arrogantly. Excuse me, do you know her story? No, then don't interfere. I don't need to know her story to see you're being cruel for no reason, the elderly woman said, defending Aife. That's cowardice. Cowardice is living off others, Liam retorted, now starting to lose control. You don't know what it's like to support someone who does nothing. I did everything. Aifa finally exploded, tears streaming down her face. I took care of the house, of you, of your clients when they came for dinner. I organized your entire life while you took all the credit. The concourse grew quieter. More people stopped to watch. Airport staff began to approach, concerned about the commotion. Organized my life? Liam laughed bitterly. You could barely choose what to wear without asking my opinion. Because you criticized everything I chose, Aifa shouted back. Because you made me believe I was incapable, that I knew nothing, that I needed you for everything. Siobhan rolled her eyes. Oh, the drama. You accepted all of that, darling. Nobody forced you. Aif looked at Siobhan with an intensity that made the other woman take a step back. One day, you'll understand, when he starts doing the same to you. It's different with me, Siobhan said, but there was a hint of uncertainty in her voice. I'm not weak like you. I thought I wasn't either, Aif replied, wiping her tears. Until years of manipulation made me doubt myself. Liam clapped sarcastically. What a beautiful speech. Did you learn that from some self-help video online? I learned it in therapy, Aifa said, raising her chin. The therapy I pay for with the job I got after you left me with nothing. Job? He laughed. Let me guess. Supermarket cashier, assistant, saleswoman. Does it matter? The man who had defended Aifa earlier spoke again. Honest work is honest work. Of course it matters, Liam, he replied. I built a company. I have employees. I close multi-million euro contracts. And she probably earns minimum wage doing some basic task. Aif took a deep breath. Every word from him stung, but she was starting to realize something important. He needed to diminish her to feel great. He needed to humiliate her to validate the betrayal he committed. He needed to make everyone believe she was worthless to justify why he replaced her. You're right, Liam, she said calmly, surprising everyone. I'm starting over. I'm rebuilding. And what does that mean? He looked at her suspiciously. What? That I had the courage to start from scratch again. Courage you never had because you inherited everything ready-made from your father. Liam's face turned dark red. That had struck a nerve. How dare you? He lunged forward, but an airport security guard appeared between them. Sir, I'm going to ask you to calm down, the guard said firmly. You're causing a disturbance. Disturbance? I'm just talking to my ex-wife, Liam protested. It doesn't look like talking, the guard replied. Several people had complained about the noise and aggression. Siobhan pulled Liam's arm. Darling, let it go. She's not worth it. Liam took a deep breath, clearly wanting to continue, but realizing he was starting to be at a disadvantage. You're right. Let's go. We have a first-class flight waiting. He started to walk away, but couldn't resist a final jab. He turned to Aifa and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "This one here was my maid disguised as a wife. She cooked badly, cleaned badly, was useless. That's why I swapped her for a real woman." People around reacted with indignation. Some booed. The elderly woman called Liam cruel, but he just laughed. He put his arm around Siobhan's waist and walked towards the first-class corridor, leaving Aifa standing there, trembling with humiliation and rage. She wanted to scream, wanted to run, wanted to disappear, but then she felt a gentle hand on her shoulder. Are you all right? The elderly woman asked with genuine concern. Aif nodded, not trusting her own voice. That man is horrible, the woman continued, but I saw it in your eyes. You are strong, stronger than he will ever be. Thank you, Aifa managed to whisper. The man who had defended Aifa also approached. Look, I don't know your full story, but anyone with eyes can see who the problem is here, and it's not you. Aifa smiled weakly, grateful for those strangers who had shown more humanity in 5 minutes than Liam had in years of marriage. She finally reached the check-in counter. The attendant, who had witnessed everything, looked at her with compassion. Your name? Aifa O'Malley. The attendant typed the name, and suddenly her expression changed completely. She looked at Aoife, then at the screen, then at Aoife again. "Apologies for the confusion. Miss O'Malley," she said, her voice suddenly much more respectful. "There was a small error in the system. Your reservation has been updated." "Updated?" Aoife asked, confused. "Yes, you won't be boarding the commercial flight, madam." Aoife blinked, not understanding. "What do you mean?" The attendant leaned forward and whispered, "Miss O'Malley, there's a private jet waiting for you at the executive hangar. The team has already been informed of your arrival." Aoife's heart pounded. Her blood ran cold. After all those years keeping her secret, hiding who she really was, trying to live a normal life, the time had come. "I understand," she said calmly, though inside, she was a whirlwind of emotions. "An assistant will come to escort you in a moment," the attendant continued. "And, Miss O'Malley?" "Yes, the jet that's waiting. The records here say it's worth 80 million euros. Aoife simply nodded, picked up her simple suitcase with the broken wheel, and waited. On the other side of the concourse, Liam and Siobhan were in the first-class queue, laughing at something on a phone, completely oblivious to what was about to happen. In a few minutes, all that humiliation would transform into the most shocking turnaround that airport had ever witnessed. And Liam Gallagher would learn that appearances can be devastatingly deceptive. Aoife was standing next to the check-in counter, holding her old suitcase, when she saw a man in an impeccable suit approaching. He carried a tablet and had a discreet earpiece. His badge identified him as Executive VIP Services. "Miss O'Malley?" he asked respectfully, making a slight bow. "Yes," Aoife replied softly, still processing what the attendant had said minutes earlier. "My name is Ronan. I'm an executive assistant. I'm here to escort you to the private hangar, if you'll allow me your luggage." He extended his hand for her suitcase, but Aoife hesitated. That broken, simple suitcase seemed so inadequate for what was about to happen. "Don't worry about the luggage, madam," Ronan said, noticing her hesitation. "I've already arranged for it to be handled with special care." Aoife handed over the suitcase. Ronan made a signal, and immediately 2 other assistants appeared, taking the luggage as if it were the most precious thing in the world. "Please, follow me," Ronan said, indicating the way. They began to walk through the concourse. Aoife kept her head down, still feeling the echoes of the recent humiliation. But Ronan walked with a posture that naturally cleared a path through the crowd. People moved away, realizing something important was happening. "Aoife," Siobhan's voice cut through the air. They were passing near the first-class queue, where Liam and Siobhan were waiting to board. "Aoife, where are you going?" Siobhan asked, thinly veiled curiosity in her voice. Liam looked up, dropped his phone. When he saw Aoife being escorted by a man from VIP Services, his face contorted in confusion. "Excuse me," Ronan said politely, trying to keep walking. "Hold on." Liam got out of the queue, attracting irritated glares from those behind him. "Aoife, what's going on? Did you hire a VIP service?" There was pure incredulity in his voice, as if the idea was too absurd to be true. Ronan turned, his voice still polite, but with a tone of authority. "Miss O'Malley is expected at the executive hangar. I ask that you let us proceed." "Executive hangar?" Liam laughed loudly. "Aoife, stop this ridiculous charade. Did you pay this guy to pretend you're important?" People started to look again. The situation was turning into a spectacle for the second time. "How pathetic," Siobhan said, shaking her head. "Are you so desperate to impress that you hired an actor?" Aoife felt her face flush with humiliation again. Even knowing the truth, their words still hurt. "Sir," Ronan said, now with firmness, "I don't know who you are, but you are delaying an important engagement. Please return to your queue." "Important engagement?" Liam stepped forward, his face turning red. "Do you know who I am?" "Liam Gallagher, owner of Gallagher Imports. And that woman there was my wife. I know her. She doesn't even have money for a decent ticket." Ronan looked at Aoife as if asking permission to respond. She nodded slightly. "Mr. Gallagher," Ronan said, his tone changing completely to something frosty. "I don't know what kind of relationship you had with Miss O'Malley, but I can assure you that your VIP services don't even come close to what awaits her." "VIP services?" Liam scoffed. "She doesn't even have money to fix the wheel on her suitcase. Look at the state of that." He pointed at Aoife's suitcase, which the assistants were carrying with excessive care. "The lady's luggage is irrelevant," Ronan replied. "What matters is that a private Gulfstream G650 jet is waiting at Hangar 5. The entire concourse fell silent. A Gulfstream G650 was legendary. 80 million euros. the kind of plain billionaires used. Liam turned white. You're lying. Aife, tell this clown to stop lying. Aife didn't reply. She just looked at him with a neutral expression, but inside her heart was racing. Lying? Ronan pulled out his tablet. Would you like to see the flight documentation, Mr. Gallagher, or would you prefer to continue causing a public spectacle? Siobhan pulled Liam's arm. Darling, it's a scam. They're trying to con her. Let the idiot fall for it. Scam? A woman in the first-class queue spoke loudly. You two are truly cruel. Isn't it enough that you humiliated the girl before? That's none of your business. Liam yelled at the woman. It became my business when you turned the entire airport into your private audience, the woman retorted. More people began to murmur. Some pulled out their phones, filming the scene. Liam realized he was losing control of the situation again. Aife, he changed his tone, trying to sound reasonable. Stop this. You're going to get into trouble. These con artists will steal the little you have. The little I have? Aife finally spoke, her voice stronger than before. You have no idea what I have, Liam. I know exactly what you have. He exploded. Nothing. You left our marriage with nothing because you were nothing. No career, no money, no future. Mr. Gallagher, Ronan interjected, his patience clearly running out. I'm going to ask you for the last time to stop harassing my client. Client? Liam laughed bitterly. How much is she paying you to pretend this? 100 euros. 200. Nothing. Ronan replied calmly. Miss O'Malley's services are courtesy of the company, as they always have been. As they always have been? Siobhan asked with genuine confusion on her face. What are you talking about? At that moment, Ronan's phone rang. He answered, listened for a few seconds, and his face became even more serious. Understood, he said into the phone. He turned to Alpha, Miss O'Malley. A message has arrived from the control tower. Your father is asking about the delay. The word father echoed through the concourse like thunder. Liam froze. Her father... Aife. Your father died years ago. Aife closed her eyes. The secret she had kept throughout her marriage, the entire life she had hidden to try to have a normal relationship, was about to explode. My adoptive father died, she said softly, but not my biological father. What? Liam seemed genuinely shocked. You never mentioned a biological father. Because you never asked anything about my life before you, Aife replied, each word laden with years of resentment. For you, my life began when we met, as if I had no history, no past, no family. That doesn't make sense, he shouted. If you have a father rich enough to pay for private jets, why on earth did you live the way you did? Because I wanted to, Aife said simply. I wanted to know what it was like to live a normal life, away from the spotlights, away from expectations, away from the surname. Surname? Siobhan asked, her voice sounding strange. What surname? Ronan looked at Aife again, waiting for permission. She felt tired of hiding. O'Malley is not just the lady's surname, Ronan explained. It's the name of O'Malley Holdings, one of Ireland's largest investment holdings. The floor seemed to disappear beneath Liam's feet. O'Malley Holdings. He knew that name. Every businessman knew it. They were true billionaires, the kind of wealth that made his company look like a lemonade stand. You're lying, Liam whispered, but the conviction had left his voice. Aife can't be. She's just a what, Liam? Aife asked, tears starting to fall. A simple girl you could control. A woman without ambitions who would never overshadow you. A convenient wife who made you feel superior. I gave you everything, he cried desperately now. A house, food, a comfortable life. You gave me a prison, Aife responded, her voice breaking. You isolated me from my family, my friends, my own identity. I gave up billions to try to have a real marriage with you. The concourse erupted in murmurs. People couldn't believe what they were hearing. Billions? One woman whispered to another. She said, billions, as my grandfather's inheritance. Aife continued, the floodgates finally breaking. When I turned 21, I was entitled to 3 billion euros, but I didn't want it. I wanted to live simply. To meet people who would love me for who I was, not for what I had. Liam was pale as a ghost. You had 3 billion and never told me? I would have told you if you had ever asked me about my life. Aife exploded. But no, for you, I was a blank slate. A woman without a past, without a story, without self-worth. Miss O'Malley, Ronan intervened gently. The jet really is waiting. Your father is concerned. Wait! Liam grabbed Aife's arm, but Ronan immediately placed himself between them. Do not touch the lady, Ronan said, his voice dangerously low. 2 airport security guards appeared instantly, as if they had been waiting for the right moment to intervene. Aife. Wait, Liam said. His voice was now desperate and without the tone of superiority from before. We can talk about this. It might have been a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Aife laughed through her tears. You spent the last 20 minutes humiliating me in public. You called me your maid, useless, incompetent, and now you want to talk. I didn't know, he pleaded. How was I supposed to know that you had money? Aife completed bitterly. Is that all that matters to you? If I had told you who I was on the first day, would you have treated me differently? Liam remained silent. The answer was written on his face. Exactly, Aife said. That's why I never told you. I wanted to be loved for who I was, not for my surname, but you couldn't even do that. Siobhan was completely quiet now, her face pale. She looked from Aife to Liam, slowly realizing the magnitude of what had happened. Aife, please. Liam tried again. We can start over. Forget all of this. Forget? Aife shook her head. You cheated on me with her. She pointed at Siobhan without looking directly. You left me with nothing. You laughed at my pain, spread lies about me throughout the city, and now you want to start over because you discovered I have money? It's not because of the money. He lied desperately. Of course it is, Liam. Aife said with sadness. It was always about money, power, status. It was never about love. I loved you, Liam shouted. You loved the idea of me, Aife corrected. The submissive wife who made you feel powerful, but you never truly knew me, never wanted to know me. Ronan gently placed a hand on Aife's shoulder. Madam, we need to go. There's a schedule to keep. Aife nodded, wiping her tears. She turned to leave, but stopped and looked at Liam one last time. You know what's funny? She said. If you had treated me with respect, with true love, I would have shared everything with you. The inheritance, the business, everything. But you chose to destroy me, Liam, he whispered, tears now in his eyes. And the saddest part, Aife continued, is that you're not crying because you lost me. You're crying for the billions you just discovered you lost. The truth of those words hit Liam like a punch to the gut. He fell to his knees in the middle of the concourse, reality finally penetrating. He hadn't just lost a wife. He had lost one of Ireland's greatest heiresses. And worse, he had treated her like trash. Siobhan was motionless, realizing she had helped destroy Liam's chance with a billionaire. Her face showed rapid calculations about the implications. Let's go, Aife said to Ronan, her voice finally firm. They began to walk. The entire concourse cleared a path, people stepping aside respectfully. Some applauded discreetly. The elderly woman who had defended Aife earlier waved warmly. As they walked down the VIP corridor, Aife could hear Liam shouting behind her, but the words no longer mattered. Security guards prevented him from following her. Miss O'Malley, Ronan said as they walked. May I make a personal observation? You may. I've worked for your family for 15 years. I've never seen anyone with as much courage as you, madam. Giving up everything to try to live a normal life is admirable. Admirable? Aife laughed without humor. Wasn't it foolish? No, Ronan said firmly. It was humanity. The lady wanted to be seen, not her money. There's nothing wrong with that. They reached the exclusive elevator that led to the executive hangar. The doors opened, revealing an interior lined with mahogany and mirrors. How long did you know where I was? Aife asked as they descended. Your father always knew, Ronan admitted. He respected your decision to live anonymously, but he never stopped protecting you discreetly. Did he send you here today? No. Today was a coincidence. We were expecting your arrival for an urgent family meeting. When he saw your name in the airport system, he asked us to pick you up personally. The elevator doors opened directly into the private hangar, and there, imposing and gleaming under the hangar lights, was the Gulfstream G650, pearlescent white, with gold details, exactly as she remembered. But what truly made Aife's heart race was the figure standing on the jet's stairs. A man of 60, grey-haired, impeccable suit. Her father, Conall O'Malley. He saw her and quickly descended the stairs, his eyes shining. My daughter, he said, his voice choked. Aife ran into his arms, finally allowing herself to truly cry. Years of pain, of hiding who she was, of being mistreated. It all came out in that embrace. Father, she sobbed. It was horrible. I know, my princess. I know. He hugged her tightly. But it's over. You're home now. In the airport concourse, Liam was still on his knees, being questioned by security guards. Siobhan had disappeared, probably realizing she didn't want to be associated with that disaster. And in the private hangar, Aif O'Malley finally allowed herself to return to who she truly was. But the story was far from over, and Liam Gallagher had yet to learn the full lesson fate had prepared for him. Inside the Gulfstream G650 jet, Aif was sitting in a white leather armchair, looking out the window as the plane taxied down the runway. Conall O'Malley was sitting opposite her, watching his daughter with a mixture of relief and concern. Between them, a small mahogany table with 2 glasses of water. "Are you all right?" he asked for the 3rd time since they took off. Aif nodded, but tears still silently streamed down her face. "Sorry for disappearing for so long. You don't need to apologize, my daughter. I'm the one who should apologize." "Why?" Aif looked at him, confused. Conall took a deep breath. "For letting you suffer alone all these years. I knew where you were. I knew who you were with. But I respected your decision to live away from the family. You knew about Liam?" Her voice came out so low it was almost a whisper. "I knew you had married. My security kept me informed, but from afar. You asked not to be found, so I respected that." Aif closed her eyes, remembering the day she ran away. She was 20, had just inherited €3 billion, and was suffocated by family pressure. Arranged engagements, convenience marriages, people who only saw euros when they looked at her. "I just wanted to be normal," she said. "I wanted to meet someone who loved me for who I was, not for the O'Malley name. And you found Liam." Conall said the name with thinly veiled contempt. "I found him. He was indifferent at first. Attentive, kind. He worked hard to build his company. I thought I had found someone genuine." "When did you realize you were wrong?" Aif let out a bitter laugh. "On our honeymoon." Conall leaned forward, attentive. "We were at a simple restaurant because I had suggested it." Liam was furious. He said his wife didn't eat in poor places. Aif wiped her tears. "It was the first time he shouted at me, the first of many. Why didn't you come home then?" "Because I was too proud to admit I had failed, that my attempt at a normal life had crumbled in 2 weeks." The flight attendant appeared discreetly. "Mr. O'Malley, an urgent message has arrived." Conall took the tablet the flight attendant offered, read quickly, and a grim expression spread across his face. "What is it?" Aif asked. "Liam Gallagher is trying to contact me. 10 calls in the last 15 minutes. Aif felt her stomach churn. "He found out who you are." "Everyone found out." Conall showed her the tablet. On the screen were headlines from news websites. "Billionaire heiress. Humiliated in airport reveals identity. Ex-husband unaware wife. Was one of Ireland's richest women. Businessman loses fortune. After humiliating billionaire. Ex-wife." "How did it leak so fast?" Aif whispered, horrified. "People filmed the scene at the airport, posted it on social media. Within an hour, it was everywhere." Aif took the tablet and started reading the comments. Thousands of them, most defending her, calling Liam cruel, an idiot. But there were others questioning why she had hidden her identity, accusing her of deceiving Liam. "This will destroy my life again," she said, her voice breaking. "Everyone will know who I am. I won't have peace anymore." "Aif, look at me." Conall held her hands. "You never needed to hide. Being an O'Malley is not shame, it's power. And now you will learn to use that power." "I don't want power. I just wanted to be happy, and you will be. But first, you need to close this chapter. Face what happened. Don't run anymore." Aif knew he was right, but the idea of going back, of facing everything, terrified her. "There's one more thing you need to know," Conall said hesitantly. "What?" "Liam's company is failing. It already was before this scandal, but now it will accelerate." "How do you know that?" Conall sighed. "Because half of his suppliers work for companies in O'Malley Holdings, and when they found out how he treated you, they all simultaneously cancelled contracts." Aif's eyes widened. "Father, no, I don't want that. I didn't ask for it," he interrupted. "It was their decision. When the news spread, executives doing business with our companies began to distance themselves from Liam on their own. Nobody wants to be associated with someone who humiliated an O'Malley, but this will completely destroy him." "He destroyed you first," Conall said firmly. "For years, and you endured in silence. Now he will learn that actions have consequences." Aif leaned back in her armchair, processing everything. Part of her felt sorry for Liam, but another part, the part that had been repeatedly humiliated, felt that perhaps justice was being served. "There's a meeting tomorrow," Conall continued, "with the O'Malley Holdings board. They want to officially meet you. I'm not ready for that. You were born ready. You just forgot who you were." At that moment, Aif's phone vibrated. It was a message from an unknown number. She opened it and almost dropped the phone. It was Siobhan. "We need to talk about Liam, about everything. You don't know the full truth. Aoife showed the message to her father. He frowned. It could be a trap, or it could be important. Aoife responded. She was with him all this time. She might know things I need to know. If you're going to meet her, take security. Aoife nodded, typing a quick reply. Where and when? The answer came immediately. The Emerald Bistro, City Center. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Alone. Definitely not alone, Connell said when he read it. Meanwhile, back at the airport, Liam was sitting in a VIP lounge he had rented, trying to make desperate calls. His secretary answered on speakerphone. Amanda, did you manage to speak with the suppliers? Mr. Gallagher, they all cancelled. All of them. They said they no longer want to do business with the company. That's impossible. We have contracts. They're paying the contractual penalties. They prefer to lose money than to remain associated with you, sir. Liam threw his phone against the wall, shattering the screen. Because of that ridiculous scene at the airport? Because of Aoife? Sir. Amanda hesitated before continuing. It's not just because of the scene. The news is saying that you emotionally abused one of the richest heiresses on the continent for years. This is causing a massive public backlash. Emotional abuse? We had a normal marriage. Normal? Amanda couldn't hide the incredulity in her voice. Sir, there are videos going viral. One shows you calling her your maid disguised as a wife. Another shows her saying she gave up 3 billion euros to marry you. She was lying, trying to make me look bad. Mr. Gallagher, O'Malley Holdings, has publicly confirmed that Aoife is the legitimate heiress of the O'Malley family. It's not a lie. Liam felt the world spinning. 3 billion euros. He had had access to 3 billion euros and threw it away for what? For pride, for arrogance, for Siobhan. Speaking of Siobhan, where was she? She had disappeared the moment the situation got ugly. Amanda, I need to speak to Aoife. Can you get her contact? I've tried, sir. Her old number has been deactivated, and all the O'Malley Holdings contacts I tried have blocked me. Blocked? Yes, sir. It seems an order has been given for no one in the group to speak with you or our company. Liam ran his hands through his hair, desperate. How much cash do we have? Awkward silence on the other end. Amanda, how much? With the cancellations, the contractual penalties, and payments that are due. Sir, in 2 weeks, we'll be technically bankrupt. 2 weeks? Liam whispered. How can the company go bankrupt in 2 weeks? Because 50% of our contracts were with companies directly or indirectly linked to O'Malley Holdings, and they all cancelled today. Liam hung up the phone and slumped into the chair. In a single day, he had lost everything. The company it took him years to build, his reputation, his future, all destroyed because he couldn't keep his mouth shut for 5 minutes. Worse, he had lost Aoife. Aoife, who was worth billions. Aoife, who would have shared everything with him if he had just been decent. His mind went back to specific moments of their marriage. The time she asked to work and he forbade her, saying his wife didn't need a job. The time she suggested visiting her family and he refused, inventing excuses. The time she tried to dress differently and he criticized her until she went back to the simple clothes he approved of. He wasn't protecting her. He was controlling, isolating, slowly destroying the person she was, and she endured it all for years because she loved him. Liam began to cry, not for the financial consequences, but for the brutal realization of the monster he had become. Aoife had given up an incalculable fortune for him, and he had treated her as if she were nothing. Mr. Gallagher, he looked up. Siobhan was standing at the door of the VIP lounge, but she didn't look like the confident woman of hours ago. She was pale, nervous. Where were you? He asked, his voice devoid of emotion. I needed to think about how to abandon me too. Siobhan sat down, avoiding looking directly at him. Liam, I didn't know who she was. If you had known, what would you have done? You wouldn't have flirted with a married man. You wouldn't have encouraged me to leave her. It's not fair to put everything on me, Siobhan retorted. You wanted to break up with her. You said she was boring, that you deserved something better, and you agreed because you wanted my money, Liam said bitterly. Money that no longer exists. Siobhan remained silent, confirming the accusation without words. Get out, Liam said calmly. Liam, get out, he shouted, making Siobhan jump out of her chair. You got what you wanted. You made me destroy my marriage, my life, my company. Now get out and leave me alone. Siobhan ran out, tears streaming down her face, but Liam felt no satisfaction, only emptiness. His phone rang, another call from a supplier canceling a contract. He didn't even answer, just watched the device ring until it went to voicemail. Somewhere above the clouds, Aoife was beginning to rebuild the life she had abandoned. And on the ground, Liam Gallagher was discovering that the price of arrogance can be everything you possess. But the story was far from over, because tomorrow Aife would meet Siobhan, and the truths that would be revealed in that cafe would change everything again. Even deeper secrets were about to emerge, secrets Aife never imagined existed. The Emerald Bistro was located in the heart of the financial district, a discreet establishment frequented by executives and entrepreneurs. Aife arrived promptly at 10 a.m., accompanied by 2 security guards whom Connell had insisted accompany her. They stayed at a nearby table, dressed casually not to draw attention, but alert to every movement. Siobhan was there, sitting in a secluded corner, wearing enormous dark sunglasses and a scarf that tried to hide part of her face. When she saw Aife approaching, she became visibly nervous, compulsively fiddling with a cup of coffee that seemed untouched. "You came?" Siobhan said, her voice lower than Aife remembered. "I said I would," Aife replied, sitting opposite her but maintaining a distance. "You have 5 minutes to say what you need to say." "Aife, I need to apologize." "Apologize?" Aife let out a humorless laugh. "You destroyed my marriage, helped humiliate me in public, and now you want apologies? I know I don't deserve forgiveness." Siobhan took off her dark glasses, revealing red and swollen eyes from crying so much. "But you need to know the truth about Liam, about everything." Aife crossed her arms, waiting. Part of her wanted to leave immediately, but another part needed to understand. "Liam knew," Siobhan said suddenly. "Knew what? Who you were. From the beginning, the world seemed to stop around Aife. That's a lie, isn't it?" Siobhan opened her bag and pulled out a crumpled envelope. "I found this yesterday in his office. He sent me to get some documents, and I ended up finding it." Aife took the envelope with trembling hands. Inside were old photos of her, still a teenager, at social events of the O'Malley family. There were magazine clippings about the family's fortune. There was even a detailed private investigation report on Oaf O'Malley, dated 6 months before she met Liam. "No, it's not possible," Aife whispered, flipping through the documents with growing horror. "There's more," Siobhan continued, tears streaming down her face. "He hired me to make you sign documents that would give him access to your inheritance when you turned 30. Aife looked at Siobhan, trying to process it. "You were hired? Not in the way you're thinking. He offered me money to work for his company, but the real function was to get close to him, to make you feel insecure, to create the separation, all planned. Why?" Aife's voice came out broken. "Why did you accept?" Siobhan covered her face with her hands. "Because I needed money. My mother was sick. The hospital bills were impossible. Liam offered me 100,000 euros to execute the plan. It seemed like a lot of money at the time. 100,000 euros to destroy a life," Aife said bitterly. "What a bargain. I didn't know you were so good," Siobhan cried harder. "I thought you'd just be another rich, spoiled madam who deserved to lose her playboy husband. But when I started observing you two, I saw how much you truly loved him, how you tried to please him in everything, how you diminished yourself to make him feel big." Aife felt tears starting to fall too. Hearing that from Siobhan was more painful than any public humiliation. "And yet you continued," Aife said, "even seeing that I was suffering." "Because I'm weak," Siobhan exploded. "Because my mother was dying and I needed the money. Because Liam promised me another 100,000 euros when you signed the documents. Because I'm a horrible person who put money above doing the right thing." People around started to look, but Siobhan no longer cared. "Your mother," Aife began, her voice softening a bit, "died 3 months ago," Siobhan completed. "And do you know what Liam did?" He laughed, said that now I had no more excuses to be weak, that I had to finish the job. Aife closed her eyes, trying to contain the pain. Everything had been a lie. From the beginning, the casual encounter, the romance, the marriage, everything carefully orchestrated by a man who only saw her as a safe to be robbed. "The documents?" Aife asked, her voice mechanically calm. "Did I sign them?" "No. Liam tried to make you sign them several times, disguising them as everyday things. But you always read everything before signing. He was furious. That's why he got irritated when I reviewed contracts," Aife murmured, the pieces finally clicking into place. "He said I didn't trust him." "It was manipulation," Siobhan said. "Everything was. When he realized you were too careful, he changed strategy. He started to isolate you, to destroy your self-esteem, to make you feel incapable of making decisions on your own." Aife gripped the edge of the table, feeling nauseous. How long had he planned this? "I don't know for sure, but from the documents, he started investigating your family years before you two even met. Your meeting was no coincidence. He found out where you frequented, what you liked, and put himself in your path. So, nothing was real," Aife whispered. "I don't know if he never felt anything. Siobhan admitted. But I know the plan was always the money. Always. Aoife abruptly stood up, needing air. The security guards immediately became alert, but she waved them to stay where they were. Wait. Siobhan gently grabbed her arm. There's one more thing. More? Aoife laughed without humor. What could be worse than this? Liam is trying to sue you, claiming you hid assets in the divorce, that he's entitled to half of your fortune. Aoife sat back down, too shocked to stand. He can't do that. He can try, and he will. Last night he called me, desperate, asking me to testify in his favor, to say you always had money during the marriage, that you intentionally hid it. And will you? Aoife asked, looking into Siobhan's eyes. No, Siobhan replied firmly. I'll testify against him. I'll hand over all the documents I found. I'll tell them about the plan, about everything, because maybe then I can sleep at night without hating the person I've become. Aoife remained silent for a long moment. She looked at Siobhan, saw the genuine regret, the guilt destroying her from within. Part of Aoife wanted to hate that woman forever, but another part understood. You were vulnerable, Aoife said finally. He took advantage of your situation, just like he took advantage of mine. That doesn't excuse me. No, but it explains. Siobhan sobbed, covering her face again. I don't deserve your understanding. You don't, Aoife agreed. But we all deserve a chance to do the right thing, even if belatedly. She stood up again, picking up the envelope with the documents. My lawyers will be in touch with you for an official statement, Siobhan. Yes. Thank you for telling me the truth. Even if it hurts, it's better to know. Aoife left the cafe, her security immediately by her side. She got into the armored car waiting out front, and only when the door closed did she allow herself to completely break down. She cried as she hadn't cried since childhood. She cried for years of life wasted with someone who never loved her. She cried for lost innocence. She cried for the woman she was before she met Liam. One of the security guards discreetly offered a box of tissues. Aoife thanked him with a nod and tried to compose herself. Where to, Miss O'Malley? The driver asked respectfully. To the O'Malley Holdings office, she replied, wiping her tears. I have a meeting. As the car drove through the city, Aoife watched the buildings passing by the window. Every street, every corner carried memories of a life she now understood to have been completely false. The O'Malley Holdings building was imposing, 60 floors of glass and steel in the city's financial heart. Aoife had only been there a few times in her life, always feeling out of place, as if she didn't belong in that world. But today was different. Today she was returning not as a fugitive, but as an heiress. The reception stood up when she entered. Miss O'Malley, welcome. Your father is waiting in the boardroom, Aoife nodded, stepping into the private elevator, which went directly to the 50th floor. The doors opened, revealing a luxurious corridor, with works of art on the walls and marble flooring. Connell was at the boardroom door, talking to a 50-year-old woman with her hair pulled back in an elegant bun. Aoife. He smiled when he saw her. I want to introduce you to Dr. Maeve Fitzgerald, our chief legal counsel. Miss O'Malley. Maeve extended her hand firmly. It's an honor to finally meet you personally. The pleasure is mine, Aoife responded, trying to maintain professional composure. Your father informed me about your meeting with Miss Kelly, Maeve said. If what she alleged is true, we have a criminal case against Mr. Gallagher. Marital fraud, attempted misappropriation, conspiracy. It's true, Aoife said, taking the envelope from her bag. She gave me proof. Maeve opened the envelope and quickly examined the documents, her eyes widening. This is enough evidence to destroy any chance he has in a civil lawsuit and could lead to imprisonment. Imprisonment? Aoife repeated, shocked. Large-scale fraud planning, attempted acquisition of inheritance through fraudulent means. Yes, these are serious crimes. Aoife sat in a chair, processing it. Liam had not only emotionally deceived her, but had committed crimes. What do you want to do? Connell asked gently. I don't know, Aoife admitted. Part of me wants to see him pay for everything, but another part just wants to forget and move on. You don't need to decide now, Maeve said, but you need to be aware that he is trying to sue you. He alleges that you committed fraud by hiding your true financial identity during the marriage. That's ridiculous, Connell exploded. She had no obligation to reveal anything. Technically, no, Maeve agreed, but he will argue that by purposefully hiding her fortune, she invalidated the separation agreement. He will ask for a review and new division of assets. He wants money, Aoife said, tired. Always has. And he won't get a cent, Maeve promised. With this evidence, we can not only defeat his lawsuit, but also prosecute him criminally. At that moment, the door opened, and a 40-year-old man entered in a hurry. "Apologies for the interruption, Mr. O'Malley, but there's a situation you need to see." He turned on the television in the boardroom. It was a live news program. In a shocking development, Liam Gallagher, businessman at the center of the controversy involving heiress Aife O'Malley, has just given an exclusive interview, claiming to be a victim of manipulation. The screen showed Liam, sitting in a studio with a perfectly rehearsed victim's expression. "Aife made me believe she was poor," he was saying on TV. "She pretended to be vulnerable, needy. I took her in, gave her everything, and now I discover it was all a lie. She used me." Aife felt bile rise in her throat. "Mr. Gallagher," the interviewer asked, "but videos show you humiliating your ex-wife publicly at the airport." "I was shocked," Liam replied, appearing emotional. "Imagine discovering that the woman you loved for years lied about absolutely everything. I reacted badly, I admit, but it was the pain of betrayal." "He's twisting everything," Aife yelled at the TV. "Calm down." Connell held her shoulders. "This will turn against him." "How?" Aife turned, tears of rage in her eyes. "He's on national television painting me as a manipulator. Half the country will believe him, and the other half has the proof." Maeve showed the envelope. "That's without counting Siobhan's testimony. Aife, you have to trust the process." On TV, Liam continued, "I'm considering legal action, not for the money, but for justice. She needs to answer for this farce." "Farce," Aife repeated incredulously. "Farce." Connell turned off the TV. "Enough. We're not watching this charade anymore, daughter. He's destroying my reputation, and we're going to restore it, but the right way. Not with shouts or accusations, but with facts and evidence." Maeve nodded. "I'll prepare an official response, and tomorrow, if you agree, we'll do an interview countering point by point." Aife took a deep breath, trying to calm down. "All right, but I want to do it my way, without personal attacks, just truths, as it should be." Connell agreed. Maeve's phone rang. She answered, listened for a few seconds, and her face became serious. "An official notification has just arrived. Liam Gallagher is filing a lawsuit requesting 50% of Aife O'Malley's fortune, alleging fraudulent cohabitation and concealment of assets, 50%. He was literally asking for half of €3 billion. Aife sat down again, the weight of everything finally truly hitting her. She wasn't just fighting a cruel ex-husband. She was fighting someone who had planned to destroy her from day one. But this time she wasn't alone, and this time she wasn't going to run. "Prepare everything," Aife said to Maeve, her voice finally firm and determined. "We're going to war." The High Court courtroom was packed. Journalists filled the benches reserved for the press, cameras strategically positioned. The case had taken on national proportions. "Disguised billionaire versus con artist ex-husband" was a headline in every publication. Aife was sitting beside Maeve Fitzgerald and a team of 3 lawyers. She wore a discreet but elegant suit, her hair pulled back, light makeup. She looked exactly what she was, a serious and competent businesswoman, nothing like the submissive woman Liam had known. On the other side, Liam Gallagher was accompanied by a single lawyer, Mr. Eamon Byrne, known for taking on controversial cases. Liam wore a new suit, clearly expensive, trying to keep up appearances, but his hollow eyes and trembling hands betrayed his nervousness. Judge Padraig Brennan entered, a 65-year-old man with completely white hair, known for strict but fair decisions. "Hearing open," he announced. "We are here to judge case number 2847, where Mr. Liam Gallagher requests a review of asset separation and financial compensation from Miss Aife O'Malley, alleging marital fraud." Maeve stood up. "Your Honor, before we begin, I would like to present evidence that the true perpetrator of fraud is the plaintiff, Mr. Liam Gallagher." Mr. Byrne jumped out of his chair. "Objection. Attempt to divert the focus of the case." "Objection denied," the judge said calmly. "Dr. Fitzgerald, present your evidence." Maeve activated a projector. The first image shown was the private investigation report Siobhan had handed over, dated 6 months before Aife met Liam. "Your Honor, Mr. Gallagher hired investigators to locate Miss Aife O'Malley, daughter of Connell O'Malley, when she was living under a discreet identity. He mapped her routine, her preferred locations, and deliberately placed himself in her path." The room erupted in murmurs. Journalists frantically typed on laptops. "That's a lie," Liam shouted, but his lawyer pulled him back into his chair. "I have here," Maeve continued, showing receipts. "Payments made by Mr. Gallagher to Reserved Investigations Agency. Total of €85,000 spent in 6 months of investigation. Aoife looked at Liam. He avoided her gaze, his face red. Your Honor, Mr. Byrne tried to intervene. Even if he investigated, that doesn't prove fraudulent intent. But this does, Maeve said, showing another document. A contract between Liam Gallagher and Siobhan Kelly, dated 1 year after the marriage. In it, Mr. Gallagher pays Miss Kelly €100,000 to facilitate amicable separation and obtain financial documents. Gasps filled the room. That was more than emotional manipulation. It was documented conspiracy. Is Miss Kelly present to testify? The judge asked. She is, Your Honor. Siobhan was called. She entered the room, head bowed, wearing simple clothes, no makeup. She looked 10 years older than days ago. Miss Kelly, the judge said, are you aware that lying under oath carries severe penalties? I am, Your Honor. Tell us what you know. Siobhan took a deep breath and began. Liam approached me 2 years ago. He said he needed help getting his wife to sign some documents. He offered me €100,000. I accepted because my mother was ill. What kind of documents? The judge asked. Powers of attorney that would give him access to her accounts when she turned 30. He knew Aoife had an inheritance scheduled for that age. Liam was pale. Mr. Byrne desperately whispered in his ear. And did you manage to get her to sign? No. Aoife always read everything before signing. That's why Liam changed his strategy. He started asking me to get close to him, to create jealousy, insecurity in her. Did you have a relationship with Mr. Gallagher while he was married? Siobhan felt tears streaming. Yes, and I hate who I've become because of it. Aoife closed her eyes, the words still hurting, even though she already knew the truth. Your Honor, Maeve returned to the attack. In addition to Miss Kelly's testimony, we have recordings. Recordings? It was Liam's turn to stand up, genuinely shocked. Maeve played an audio. Liam's voice was unmistakable. Siobhan, you need to make her doubt herself, criticize the things she does, make her feel incapable. The more fragile she becomes, the easier it will be when I file for divorce, and she accepts any settlement. The room fell into a deadly silence. It was Liam's own voice, with no possibility of denial, methodically planning to destroy his wife's self-esteem. Where did you get that? Liam whispered. Miss Kelly recorded several conversations, Maeve explained, initially as protection for herself. Now she is using them as evidence. The judge looked at Liam with clear revulsion on his face. Mr. Gallagher, do you have anything to say in your defense? Mr. Byrne stood up, clearly improvising. Your Honor, my client acted reprehensibly, but that doesn't change the fact that Miss O'Malley purposefully hid her fortune during the marriage. She had no obligation to reveal it. Maeve immediately retorted. There was no community of property, and, more importantly, she was not using family money. She lived only on what Mr. Gallagher provided, precisely to avoid future issues. Your Honor, Mr. Byrne tried again. I request a recess to consult with my client. Denied, the judge said firmly. We will continue. Dr. Fitzgerald, do you have more evidence? Yes. I would like to call Miss Aoife O'Malley herself to testify. Aoife stood up, her legs trembling slightly, walked to the front, was sworn in, and sat in the witness chair. It was the first time she had been face-to-face with Liam since the airport. Miss O'Malley, Maeve began gently. Can you tell us why you decided to hide your true identity? Aoife took a deep breath. I grew up as an heiress of O'Malley Holdings. From childhood, I was treated differently. People wanted to get close not because of who I was, but because of what I had. At 20, I was engaged to a man my father had chosen, someone appropriate for the family business. She paused, emotion taking over. I didn't want that. I wanted to be loved for myself. So I ran away. I changed my name. I lived with as little as possible. I tried to build a normal life, and when I met Mr. Gallagher, I thought I had found exactly what I was looking for. Someone who saw me as Aoife, not as an O'Malley heiress. Someone who loved me for who I was. Her voice broke. Tears began to fall. But it was a lie. Everything was. From the first hello, from the first coffee, every gesture, every word, every promise, all planned. The room was completely silent. Journalists had stopped typing, completely absorbed in the testimony. For years, Aoife continued. I blamed myself. I thought I wasn't good enough, that if I tried harder, cooked better, was prettier, more interesting, he would stop criticizing me, stop making me feel small. But now I understand. He needed me to feel small, because the smaller I felt, the easier it would be to control me. Liam had his head down, unable to look at her. Miss O'Malley? Maeve asked. At any point during the marriage, did Mr. Gallagher demonstrate genuine love? Aif thought for a long moment. There were times I wanted to believe he did, but looking back, I see that every gesture had a motive. Every gift came with a condition. Every display of affection was followed by criticism. Do you still love him? No, Aif said with certainty. Because I finally understood that you cannot love someone who never truly existed. The Liam I loved was a lie he performed for years. Mr. Burns stood up for cross-examination. Miss O'Malley, don't you think it's dishonest to have hidden billions of euros from your husband? He wasn't my husband when I made the decision to live discreetly. And when we married, I made it clear there was no money from my side. We lived solely on what he earned. But you had access to billions? I did. And I chose not to use it because I wanted to build something real, not bought. Don't you think my client deserves compensation for the years he supported you? Aif looked directly at Liam for the first time. I cleaned your house, cooked your meals, organized your life, supported your career, sacrificing any chance of my own. I endured humiliations, constant criticism, isolation from my family. If anyone deserves compensation, it's not him. Spontaneous applause erupted in the room. The judge pounded his gavel, calling for silence, but couldn't hide a small smile. No further questions, Mr. Burns said, defeated. Aif returned to her seat. Connell, who was sitting in the first row, squeezed her hand as she passed. Well done, my daughter, he whispered. Your Honor, Maeve stood up. I would now like to clarify an important point. Miss O'Malley mentioned being engaged when she ran away. That engagement was never officially broken. Aif looked at Maeve, confused. She didn't understand where this was going. Mr. Connell O'Malley, Maeve called. Could you please come forward? Connell stood up, imposing even at 60, walked to the front, and stood beside Aif. Mr. O'Malley, Maeve said, would you explain the situation regarding your daughter's engagement? I can. Connell looked at Aif with tenderness. When Aif ran away years ago, she was engaged to Declan Murphy, the son of a business partner. It was an arranged marriage I had foolishly organized. Aif held her breath. This was the urgent family meeting he had mentioned. Declan waited. Connell continued. Year after year. Even when he knew Aif had married another man, he waited because he truly loved her. Father, Aif whispered. 3 days ago, Declan contacted me. He said he saw the news about you and asked if there was still a chance. Tears streamed down Aif's face. Declan? She barely remembered him. They had only met a few times before she ran away. He's here? She asked. He is. Connell pointed to a man of 35 sitting at the back of the room. Dark-haired, gentle eyes, a nervous smile. Declan stood up and waved discreetly. He didn't seem expectant or demanding, just hopeful. Your Honor, Maeve explained. I mention this because Mr. Gallagher alleges he was entitled to half of Miss O'Malley's fortune, but legally his marriage to her may be annulled as there was a prior engagement, not formally broken. Mr. Byrne jumped up. That's ridiculous. An engagement is not a marriage. But in Irish family law, Maeve countered, when it involves large fortunes and documented family agreements, it can invalidate subsequent marriages made under fraud. The judge leafed through some documents. It's a complex legal issue. I'll need to analyze precedents. Your Honor, Maeve pressed. The point is, Mr. Gallagher not only emotionally defrauded my client, but the entire marriage may be legally null and void. He is not entitled to absolutely anything. Liam finally exploded. This is unfair. I spent years with her, years of my life, years planning to steal from her, Maeve retorted. Years manipulating, abusing, destroying. You are not a victim, Mr. Gallagher. You are a criminal. Order. The judge pounded his gavel hard. Mr. Gallagher, control yourself, or you will be removed. Liam sank into his chair, defeated. Dr. Fitzgerald, the judge said, the case is more than clear. I will recess for 2 hours to prepare a sentence, but I will preemptively state, Mr. Gallagher will not receive a single cent and may face criminal prosecution. The room erupted in conversation. Journalists rushed out to broadcast live. Aif remained seated, still processing everything. Declan timidly approached. Aif. She looked at him. He had gentle eyes. None of Liam's arrogance or cruelty. Aye, Declan, she said, not knowing what else to say. I didn't come to demand anything, he said quickly. I just wanted you to know that that engagement was the best thing that almost happened to me. And if one day, maybe you just want to grab a coffee, no pressure, no expectations, I'd love to get to know the woman you've become. Aif smiled through her tears. Maybe one day, I'll accept. Declan nodded, smiled back, and respectfully stepped away. Connell hugged his daughter. You were incredible up there. Thank you for everything, Aif said. For respecting my choices, even when you didn't agree. for protecting me even from afar. You're my daughter. I'll always protect you." While they waited for the final verdict, Aoife stepped out into the corridor for some air, and it was there she had the encounter she had been avoiding. Liam was leaning against the wall, alone. Mr. Byrne had disappeared, likely abandoning the case. "Aoife," he said when he saw her. She almost kept walking, but something made her stop. Perhaps she needed this. One last confrontation, a real closure. "What do you want, Liam?" "I wanted to apologize." "Apologize?" She laughed without humor. "Do you think apologies fix years of lies?" "No, I know they don't. But I need you to know that there were real moments. Moments when I truly—" "No," Aoife interrupted him. "Don't try to rewrite history now. You admitted it yourself in the audio. Everything was manipulation." Liam closed his eyes. "I lost myself. When I started, it was just about money, but then I truly started to get used to you." "Get used to?" I felt anger rising. "I'm not furniture, Liam. I'm not something to get used to. I was your wife. I was someone who truly loved you." "I know," he yelled back. "And that's what scared me. Because the more you loved me, the more I realized I didn't deserve it, that I was deceiving you. So I started pushing you away, making you feel bad. Because if you hated me, it would be easier when everything fell apart." Aoife remained silent, shocked by the confession. "But you never hated me," Liam continued, tears finally falling. "No matter what I did, you kept trying, you kept loving me, and I hated you for that. Because you made me see the monster I was. So you brought Siobhan in," Aoife completed, "not just for the plan, but to destroy me completely." "Yes," he admitted, "and it worked. You finally gave up on me. I should have given up years ago." "You should have," he agreed. "You deserved much more than me." The silence weighed between them. "Liam," Aoife said finally, "I forgive you." He widened his eyes, shocked. "What? Not for you, for me. Because carrying hatred will only destroy me too. So I forgive you, but that doesn't mean I'll forget, or that you won't pay the consequences. I know, and I will pay. I'll lose everything, just as you tried to do to me." Liam nodded, accepting. "Will you stay with Declan?" "I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe I'll finally learn to be alone and happy." "You will be happy," Liam said with certainty, "because you are a good person, something I never was." The court officer appeared at the door. "Judge is returning. Sentence in 5 minutes." Aoife started walking back to the room. She stopped and looked at Liam one last time. "Goodbye, Liam. Goodbye, Aoife. And thank you." "Why?" "For showing me what kind of man I never want to be again." Aoife nodded and entered the room. Judge Padraig Brennan returned to the room with an expression that left no doubt. He held a multi-page document, and the silence was absolute when he began to read. After analyzing all the evidence presented, this court concludes that the marriage between Aoife O'Malley and Liam Gallagher was based on deliberate and premeditated fraud. His voice echoed firmly through the room. The petitioner, Mr. Gallagher, investigated the respondent with criminal intent, manipulated her emotionally for years, and conspired with third parties to obtain illegal access to her fortune. Liam was white as paper. Mr. Byrne had already begun to discreetly gather his documents. Therefore, I rule. First, the request for a review of asset separation and financial compensation is denied in its entirety. Mr. Gallagher is not entitled to a single cent of Miss O'Malley's fortune. Applause erupted in the room. The judge pounded his gavel, calling for silence, but did not reprimand those present. Second, I order the complete annulment of the marriage, as if it had never legally existed, based on marital fraud and the existence of a prior engagement, not formally broken. Aoife felt tears of relief. It wasn't just divorce, it was as if those years of lies were legally erased. Third, the judge continued, and now his tone became severe. I refer this case to the public prosecutor's office for the initiation of criminal proceedings against Liam Gallagher for the crimes of fraud, conspiracy to defraud, and sustained psychological abuse. The sentence can reach 8 years imprisonment. Liam collapsed in his chair, hiding his face in his hands. There was no longer any escape. The consequences had finally caught up with him. As for Miss Siobhan Kelly, the judge looked at her, trembling in the witness box. I acknowledge your cooperation in providing evidence and testifying against Mr. Gallagher. I recommend community service instead of criminal prosecution, subject to continued psychological counseling. Siobhan sobbed with relief, nodding repeatedly. Case closed. The judge pounded his gavel for the last time. The room erupted in activity. Journalists rushed out. Lawyers congratulated each other. Aoife remained seated, letting reality slowly penetrate. She was free, truly free. Connell hugged her tightly. It's over, my daughter. It's truly over. Maeve approached, smiling. Aoife, this will change jurisprudence in Ireland. Cases of emotional abuse will be able to use this precedent. Aoife hadn't even thought of that. Her pain, her story, could help other women trapped in similar situations. On the other side of the room, police officers approached Liam. They weren't going to arrest him immediately, but they would escort him to give a statement. He looked at Aoife one last time, and she saw something she had never expected to see in those eyes. Genuine remorse. She felt it lightly. It wasn't renewed forgiveness, just recognition. He had become a living warning of what greed and manipulation destroy. Siobhan timidly approached as the room began to empty. Aoife, I have no words. You did the right thing in the end, Aoife said. That counts. I'll use my community service sentence to work with women in shelters, helping those leaving abusive relationships. Maybe that way I can make up for it a little. It's a start. Aoife offered a small smile. We all deserve second chances. Siobhan nodded, wiping her tears, and walked away. Declan waited discreetly in the corridor. When Aoife left, he approached. Are you all right? I am. Better than I've been in years. That coffee I mentioned is still on. No pressure. Just two old acquaintances chatting. Aoife looked at him. Really looked. She saw genuine kindness, patience, respect. Next week, his smile lit up his entire face. Next week is perfect. 3 weeks later, Aoife was on the 50th floor of O'Malley Holdings, not as a visitor, but as Director of Human Relations and Sustainable Development. She had specifically created the position. She wanted to use her family's standing to make a real difference. First order of business, she said at the board meeting. We will establish a fund of €5 million to support women leaving abusive relationships. Housing, professional training, psychological support, legal aid. The executives nodded, some moved by the proposal. Second, we will create an independent audit in all group companies to identify and combat workplace harassment. Zero tolerance. Connell, sitting at the head of the table, smiled proudly. That was the daughter he always knew she was. Strong, compassionate, determined. After the meeting, Aoife stayed alone in what was now her office. She looked out the panoramic window at the city. She no longer ran. She no longer hid who she was. She had learned that dignity doesn't come from hiding your light, but from using it to illuminate the path of others. Her phone rang. A message from Declan. Confirmed for tomorrow. I promise the coffee is good. She smiled, typing her reply. Confirmed, but I'm paying. I'm a billionaire. Remember? His reply came quickly. Then I'll order dessert. Aoife laughed, truly laughed, and realized it was the first time in years she had laughed without a weight in her chest. She opened her desk drawer and took out an old photo Connell had given her. It was of her at 20 days before she ran away. Frightened eyes, a forced smile, a lost girl trying to escape a golden cage, not realizing she was running straight into another cage. But not anymore. Now she knew that true freedom didn't come from hiding who you are, nor from making yourself small to fit into someone else's dreams. It came from embracing your own greatness and using it with wisdom and compassion. Aoife O'Malley had been humiliated in a crowded airport by a man who thought she was nothing, but she had always been everything, and now, finally, she believed it. She looked out the window once more, saw the entire city stretching before her, full of possibilities, new beginnings, unwritten stories. And for the first time in her life, Aoife O'Malley wasn't running from who she was. She was embracing it.